Nobody in my family had ever done what I was about to do. Not one person. And when I made my choice, they made their feelings very clear, but I did it anyways. And it took years for them to understand that I was right. Today, I want to talk about what that actually feels like from the inside, because nobody tells you how lonely it is to be the first in your family to do something. And nobody tells you how worth it is on the other side. In immigrant families, there are acceptable paths that you should take in your career. Doctor, lawyer, or engineer. So when I say engineer, architect, you're building something. You do the floor plan for it. And also nurse. These are the paths that make sense. The path that people can see, the path that have been walked before by people your family knows who turned out okay. Anything outside of those paths, it requires a lot of explanation. I chose tech. Not doctor, not nurse, not lawyer, although I did go and take the LSAT exam. I chose tech. And my family did not see it. Now, let me give you some context about when this happened. When I got into tech, we did not have the internet the way that we have it now. We did not even have it at home. The internet was just starting to spread, and it started with private businesses, and then it went into homes. You remember the old AOL discs that they will send to you in the mail, and when you install it, it says you got mail. So those discs you had to get just to access the internet. That is when I got into tech, and I remember exactly why. I was fascinated by it, and it was not in a casual way. In a deep, knowing way, I looked at what was happening with tech, and I said to myself, this is something that is only going to evolve, and I can already see that this is the future. Because of that, I want to get in now. So my family did not see it that way. They saw risk. They saw uncertainty. They saw something that they did not understand, and they could not vouch for it either. And here's what nobody tells you about being the first. You carry the weight of proof. You are not just building something for yourself. You are building the evidence that this path is even possible for every person in your family who comes after you. So this is what you're doing. And when there is no evidence yet, the people who love you cannot see the path. And when they cannot see the path, they try to pull you back to the ones they can. I had a full scholarship to medical school, a full scholarship in Haiti. And I went to medical school one day, and I sat in that building, and I said to myself, this is not for me. Now, I have deep respect for doctors and nurses. I think it's one of the most fascinating careers. What they do is extraordinary, but the responsibility of holding someone's life in my hands, it was not something that I could carry. And I do not like watching people suffer. It would have been too much for me emotionally. So I walked away from the scholarship and I chose tech. And my family thought that I had lost my mind. Oh my God. I bet you they said, oh my God, this girl just keeps disappointing us. This is what it felt like. And here's the specific loneliness of that moment. You have a vision that is so clear to you that you can almost touch it. You can see where this is going. You can see what is possible. You can feel that you are making the right call. And the people you love, the people whose opinion matters most to you, they cannot see any of it. They see the risk, they see the uncertainty, they see you walking away from something safe into something nobody in your family has ever done. And they are scared for you, not because they do not love you, because they do, but their love at that specific moment in your life, it felt like resistance. In carrying your vision alone while the people closest to you doubted, it is one of the loneliest experiences that a person can have. But here's what being the first also gave me. It gave me a specific kind of confidence that I could not have gotten any other way. When there is no roadmap, you learn to trust your own instincts. When there is no one ahead of you showing the way, you learn to read your own signals. When no one around you believes in the path, you have to develop an internal compass that does not depend on anyone else's approval. And that compass is one of the most valuable things that I own. And I was right about tech. The internet did evolve. Technology did become the future and continues to be the future. And as my family started to see that, they started to see that slowly. They came around. They didn't come around with an apology, but they didn't come around not with a direct acknowledgement that I was right, but in the quiet ways that immigrant families do, they started to see it. And I had to be okay with that. I had to give them time to catch up without making them wrong for being behind. Because they were not wrong, they were victims of their time. They saw life through a lens that had been shaped by what they knew and what they had seen work. And tech was not in that lens until it was. There was a point where I had to make a decision. I could keep trying to convince them. I could keep explaining my vision, defending my choices, waiting for their understanding before I move forward. Or I could accept the reality that they were not able to give me what I wanted from them at that time of my life. And it's not because they did not love me, but because you cannot give someone what you do not have. You cannot understand a vision that you have never been exposed to. You cannot support a path that you genuinely believe is dangerous. And I spent years trying to get from them something that they were not capable of giving. Years of my life. And every time I went back for it, I walked away with the same result. So it was like a boomerang. I kept throwing it out and it kept coming back. And it came back empty. And then one day I just let it go. I just let it go. And I didn't even do that in anger. I didn't do it in resentment, but in complete acceptance. I accepted that this was the reality, that maybe things would change in the future, but I was not going to hold my breath and I was not going to put my life on hold waiting for it. And the moment I let it go, something opened up because the emotional energy I had been spending on trying to convince them, it became available for me to build. And strangers showed up in my life, people that I had never met, who saw the vision, who believed in the path, who became part of my journey. And I am grateful for every single one of them. So here's what I want to say. to the woman who is the first to choose a path that nobody in her family has walked, the first to build something that her family cannot fully see. I know the loneliness is real. The pressure is real. The grief of wanting support from people who are not able to give it to you right now is real. And also, the vision that you have is real. The instinct that told you that this was the right path, that instinct is real. And you do not need them to see it now before you pursue it. Give them time to catch up. They may and they may never, but do not wait for them, because the longer you wait, the more the path grows over, and the vision you had, it gets harder for you to hold on to. And for my son, I think about this all the time because of what I went through. I made a decision very early that when he became an adult, he's an adult now, I would step aside. I would move from the role of a parent to the role of an advisor. And I would tell him, you will always have a bed here. You will never be homeless as long as I am alive. I am on the sideline. I am here because this is what I wished that I had. Not someone who agreed with every decision that I made, just someone who said, I'm here. I see you. Go ahead. Being the first is hard, and it is also one of the most meaningful things I will ever do, because you are not just building for yourself. You are building the proof that it is possible for everyone who comes after you. So for those of you who don't know me, I am Webley. I was the first generation Haitian American, the first to graduate college, and I built it anyway. So I want you to hit subscribe and drop a comment below and tell me, are you the first in your family to build something? What has that cost you? What has it given you? I want to read every single one of your answers. And with that, I will see you in the next video.